Blackthorne.
Hello.
Thank you for being here, guys. I guess my first question for you is, what was your favorite episode from the season? Did you have a favorite episode from the season?
Jim?
I'm going to go with the one that I actually got to be in. Not just because I got to be there, but because it was such an experience of showing up and seeing Harry and Murphy and Butters. Only everybody else could see them too. That was an experience for me. So I'm actually in, I think, episode 8. I'm standing around in the background with Butters and hands. So yeah, that was my Stanley appearance.
My favorite episode. Gosh, it was a lot of fun. I have to say, there was one that I recall that particularly sticks in my mind was it was with Joanne Kelly, who you may be familiar with.
Oh, yeah.
When she was being was she being a vampire?
She was.
She was being a vampire, yes, and she was putting Dresden through all sorts of mayhem. He was like, I'm very attracted to this lady, and this lady's probably going to kill me. What do I do here? And there was a lot of neurosis going on in Dresden's mind, and I just remember the last scene was just the two of us on the sofa, I believe. And whatever was said, and then there was just this moment where I just sort of let out this sigh at the end of it. And I remember Robert Hewitt-Wolf, who was one of the producers on the show, he said, that's one of my favorite moments in the whole series, this sigh where you just go, oh my God. It was the biggest oh my God sigh without saying it. I just remember that particular episode was a lot of fun. And then, what was this is a long time ago now, you're going to have to forgive me, okay? I'm really having to cast my mind back. The werewolf moment, the werewolf.
Oh, that was a really good one, yeah.
Yeah, and the lady that portrayed her was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, there was good chemistry on the screen for that.
Yeah, she was, that was great, yeah. Anything with blimmin' Terrence Mann as well was always a moment to remember. Terrence Mann.
If you've never gotten to meet Terry, he is genuinely a great guy. He really is.
He's a good one. It was always a bit tricky, actually, I have to say, because of course I was doing an American accent and he was doing a British accent. And we had the dialect coach who was giving him notes, and I couldn't listen to those notes. And she was giving me notes, and I couldn't, it was a lot of close your ears on the other person's notes. But it was a lot of fun.
Well, you both had us fooled, so you did a nice job. What power or ability of the characters did you particularly enjoy?
What ability?
Right, what his magical ability or a power that he had, was there one that you particularly enjoyed?
He was quite good, really, wasn't he? He was quite a lot of interesting powers. But of course, how everything backfired, the way that you created the character, Jim, it's like he can do all this stuff, but of course everything breaks around him, and just the general idea of, he's such a reluctant, I think that's what I enjoyed about portraying the character, was that he was such a reluctant hero in my mind, and it's like, oh, I really have to save the world, I suppose I can, and I guess I should. And that whole element was always a lot of fun to play, so that doesn't really answer your question, but it's what came to my mind just then.
So in other words, any of the powers reluctantly used, right?
Oh, that bracelet was handy.
Oh yeah,
I remember that. That saved the day once or twice.
And Jim, was there something that was an aspect that was in the show that didn't actually show up in the books that you particularly enjoyed?
This could get controversial.
One of the things about it was, there's got to be some translation when you take it from a book to a television series, especially television series, because there's much more limits in terms of budget. For me, I can destroy Chicago or not destroy Chicago in a book, and it costs me exactly the same. But a TV show you've got to consider those things. So Bob the Skull was taken from the Skull character, who he's basically glowing lights and a voice in the books. But in order to do that on TV, they would have either needed to spend an enormous amount of the budget doing special effects of just animating the skull, which was not really an option, or they could have done like a puppet, like the cat on Sabrina.
Not a good idea.
Yeah.
Nothing against Sabrina.
So instead they decided to embody Bob the Skull, and they had Terrence Mann play him. I wasn't sure how I felt about that, but by the time
About
I
Terrence?
the first couple of episodes, and by the time I met Terrence Mann, I was kind of sold on it because Terry was a really great guy because he did such a good job with the role. So I think that was, I mean, as far as changes go, I think that was the one that surprised me about how much I really enjoyed it.
Can I just ask Jim, was in the pilot, when we shot the pilot initially, there was no Terrence, was there? It was just the skull.
No, there was no Terrence, it was just the skull.
Yeah.
And then they decided, no way, it's going to cost too much to cause that. So in the original pilot, the actual shots with Bob the Skull in it just have like this green cylinder. And a voice coming out of it, but just a green cylinder that says temporary shot, and it never became anything else. It's just a green cylinder.
So what did we do? Did we pick up shots later on with a human being in there?
They edited it
Terrence?
down, and they wrote his part out of it, which made it much more confusing. But the episode that was originally was a 2-hour pilot, and they edited it down to a 1-hour episode.
And then it showed it 8th, I believe.
Yeah, I think they mostly concentrated on making sure that he got to kiss Murphy. And that was
He got to kiss Murphy?
yeah, you got to kiss Murphy, yeah.
Oh, me, okay. Good. Sorry, did Bob kiss her? And I have to say, I would concur with all that as well. It's a lot easier working with a human being than it is a green blob in front of you. The script supervisor lady would be saying the lines off and all the rest of it. So, yeah, I'm glad they cast a human being in the end. It's always a bonus.
Okay, we will start over here on the right, well, my right, with Sheila.
Hi there, it's questions for Jim. In Deadbeat, it's mentioned that the Lieb der Elking books were mostly destroyed by Cal when he was going through, right? So that left maybe 1 or 2 copies left in the world, basically. So in
Getting the answers
Just
right.
waiting for the question.
it's set up. So in Cold Days, who called the Wild Hunt?
In Cold Days, who called the Wild Hunt? It hasn't really been specified yet. It's probably safe to say that Mab set it up, though. She was setting up most of that stuff, so.
Okay, no. Thank you.
Sure.
That answered the question.
Go ahead.
Yeah, first of all,
Jim and I, by the way, have not seen each other in, 8 years?
Something like that.
Yeah, we just sort of reacquainted backstage.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just...
first of all, Jim, glad that you got your long hair back. Appreciate that.
Thank you. It would grow back, and no one took me seriously.
This is how you should look. Okay, so is there any chance of a spin-off of Dresden from one of the other characters, like, I don't know, Murphy or Butters, I don't know, someone?
You mean like when I've done the Dresden Files series?
Yeah.
I actually got a couple of different spin-offs in mind. We'll see what happens. It's with a character you've seen yet, and I'm not going to tell you who. But you've already met the character, so,
Can I be in it?
Billy!
Yes, Jim. As much as I'd like seeing the Dresden Files brought to life before, where's the countdown at until we can get to see it again?
Well, I used to keep track of the countdown of how long it would be before I had the rights back after Sci-Fi was done with them. They gave them up early, so they were out and marketed again. They've been picked up by a major production company. We'll see if anything happens. It's Hollywood, man. Maybe it'll happen, maybe it won't. It's all a lot of talk until the check clears. But we'll see if they actually get anything done with it or not. It's a company that has done, you would know, I could start listing movies and everybody here will have seen them. But I don't want to say anything more than that.
Thank you.
Sure.
Oh, you guys. So, in your magic system, it's super engaging and intuitive and really interesting. I want to know, how much of that did you plan before you started writing the series, and how do you keep it from ruining your world? Because you are able to make things that are completely ridiculous happen, but explain them in such a way that everybody's like, oh yeah, it totally makes sense. So you have a Tyrannosaurus Rex running down Main Street. How do you do that and make it not so fantastical?
When I was researching it, I went and hit up the local metaphysics section at the border store, and I just picked up about half a dozen books about magic. I figured I would go and read books by people who actually incorporated it into their belief system. And so after that, I just went through it like a salad bar, and I took all the things that I thought would be good, or interesting, or would cause Harry Dresden problems. Because really, the main thing that when you're writing a story, the main thing you've got to do is you've got to cause problems for your protagonist, and you've got to make sure he has a horrible day. Everything bad that's going to happen is going to happen to him at the worst possible time, and then you shoot him. And, I'm sorry, I got asked my favorite moment that I'd ever written, and it's like, it happened when I shot Dresden. And yeah, I did that.
Never knew about that.
I totally killed you in like book 12.
Really?
Book 13, you had to solve your own murder.
See, that's good stuff, right? That's good stuff. That should be on TV.
Together, that's not hard. I mean, that's just, I established the rules, now let's go play with them.
Well, so not so much just for the magic, but when you do a lot of different things, it seems like in the real world, so when you do things, and it seems ridiculous, but not always with the magic system itself, do you have a situation in mind and then write up to it and try to explain it, or do you explain it and then have that, like when he got shot, or the Tyrannosaurus, things like that, where it's just so cinematic that you have to describe it?
Some stuff I've got to plan out, and the having a zombie T-Rex, setting that up, that took. I was waiting to write that scene for like 5 years. But everything from the beginning of the book was basically written to set up that scene later at the end of the book. It's like, you need an old corpse, and the old corpses can hold more magic, so you can make tougher zombies out of older corpses. Harry's going to go get a 65 million year old corpse from the museum, and we'll see how tough your guys are next to that. And so it's fun to do that kind of thing. You got the right around a dinosaur.
Does anybody mind if I ask a question? When did you write your first book, Jim?
My first book I wrote when I was 19. I wrote it in 1991. It was awful. So then I wrote the second one, and it was also terrible, as were books 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7.
Presume none of those were Dresden. Were those different characters?
Yeah,
or?
these are completely different novels.
Right.
I would not have made Osama bin Laden read those novels. But then one year I decided, for my writing teacher who'd been trying to teach me how to write good books for a long time, and I was in a survey course in her class, and I decided I was going to prove to her how wrong she was about everything she was trying to teach me. And the way I would do this was I would do exactly what she told me to do. I was going to be her good little writing monkey, and I would fill out all her forms and do all the little outlines and do little character design stuff, and I would show her what terrible cookie-cutter pablum crap resulted from that kind of process. And so I wrote the first book of the Dresden Files. Which showed her.
Hi, Paul. Thank you for giving a voice in my head every time I read the books, because I saw the show first and I got the books afterwards. And
Thank you very much.
even though you never wear a leather duster in the series, really, like Harry does in the books, I see you running around a lot of times, especially in the weird places like when we go down to Mexico. But that's another story.
Okay, we'll talk about that afterwards.
But I actually have two for Jen, because I have a friend of mine who can't speak today. She had a great character she did, so I do apologize. The first is, I saw in your AMA when Cold Days was coming out, you said you had a couple more books lined up for Harry. Do you have maybe a shot in the dark how many you think you have left? And, the second one, I do apologize for asking too. She wants to know, how do you see your Harry in the book differing from the Harry that's read by James Monsters in the audiobooks?
Okay, for the first one, I'm going to do about 20 of the case books like we've had so far. So we're on book 15, we've got another 5 or so of those. It could be more if my kid decides to go to grad school. Let's be honest, people, there's practical things. Right? I don't have a muse, I have a mortgage. of a big old 3-book kind of apocalyptic trilogy to finish off the series, kind of as a capstone thing. And I honestly don't know if he's going to survive it. Sorry. As far as the voice in my head differing, I don't know. He talks faster. But that's the only complaint I have about Marsters is that he's doing the reading on the audiobooks. It's slow. It's got to be because he's doing an audiobook, and otherwise you can't understand him. But I'm always going, hurry up! I read faster than this. Hurry up!
I'd be happy to do those if he ever gets bored of the idea.
Okay, here, Erica.
Hey, I have a question for Jim.
Oh, you.
So, since Harry lost his staff and his blasting rod, do you think in the next book maybe we'll see him with a hockey stick?
What a question. Harry's kind of a creature of habit. He's unlikely to go around changing that kind of thing. Although that was another one of those things that I frowned about because it's like, why would they give him a hockey stick instead of a wizard staff? Who carries around a hockey stick? And I got on the plane to go up to Toronto to visit the set while they were filming, and there were 14 guys on the planes with hockey sticks. They just let these guys on the plane with clubs. I'm like, what? And they're like, it's Canada, man. I'm like, oh. Okay. All right, I understand.
Hi.
Silence.
Over here.
Yeah, the mic is off. Okay.
This question is for Mr. Blackthorne. Do you...
It's very nice when people call you by your last name, isn't it?
We're very polite here in Atlanta. Was there anything in particular that drew you to this character when you decided to take this role?
Was the fact that he carried a hockey stick, actually. But, apart from that, it was, well, kind of what I was alluding to earlier on. Due to this fantastically interesting, rich, complex character that Jim created, there was a lot that I sort of responded to, and that the reluctant hero. Being a hero is kind of one thing, and you run around and everything is fantastic, and you save this, and you save that, and it's all what you plan to do and expect to do because you're a hero. But the reluctant hero, he just kind of wants to hang out and read a book and try and polish something up or whatever. That to me what was interesting about this character, and made him a lot more appealing to play. So that's always what stuck in my mind, just the reluctant hero. And I always think it was slightly more heroic, the fact that he did actually get off his bum and do stuff because he was so reluctant in the first place. So, he's actually more of a hero as a result of being reluctant. But anyway, so that was it. For sure.
Being a hero is like really hard on your house and your car. And,
Right.
it's just not practical.
You have to look the part and everything.
You would just rather kind of go to the bar and get a beer. Being a hero is really inconvenient.
Hi, this question is for Jim, but a little bit of setup. Is I had read the books. My wife and I had read the books. We hadn't seen the show. We didn't know really much about the show at the time. Then later on, we saw the gates with Blackthorne, and we were like, oh, he would be a perfect Harry Dresden. So we ended up seeing the series, and we're like, oh my God. And I'm just wondering if you had any kind of hand in the casting of the show, or if you had any kind of approval of who would play Harry.
So I closed my ears. Not Blackthorne, not Blackthorne.
None whatsoever. I had a wee bit of influence because I happened to get along well with Robert Wolff. And so he had one point had dropped me an email and said, hey, is there anybody that you think we should look at? And I had a couple of suggestions. He said, well, we can't look at that. So, that was that. Although I do know that it came down, the final two that they were considering for the role, it came down to Paul, and it came down to Jane from Firefly.
Wow. Oh, Adam Baldwin.
And they decided that... They decided that Paul could pull off the kind of darker side of Dresden a little bit better. that he could do that he could kind of do those dark, intense moments a little bit harder. If they'd gone with, they said if we'd gone with Adam Baldwin, it would have been a much more bulldogish Dresden who probably got beat up.
Yeah.